It's good news tonight. The kidnapped persons in Kubwa have been returned home, raising the released, rescued, or ransomed question again, which we'll get into with our security expert on our interview segment. The victims tell us what their ordeal was like, and we look at the joint operation that brought back our brothers and sisters kidnapped in Kubwa. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Kayla Megwa. We have a new Minister of State for Finance, and our president is reminding us all that he's a die-hard Democrat. Here's more on our Abuja Wrap.
President Bola Tinubu has assured that Nigeria will not surrender in the war against terror, saying the terrorists are getting desperate as they are facing a barrage and are being defeated. The president was speaking at the interfaith breaking of the fast in the presidential villa in Abuja, where he hosted traditional and religious leaders of the country. The president assured those gathered that having stabilized the country's economy and saved Nigeria from bankruptcy, the next step for his administration is to reinvest in agriculture, development and education. In the bid to address the impact of the war in the Middle East on the cost of transportation in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has directed the immediate deployment of about 100,000 compressed natural gas conversion kits across the country. The executive chairman of the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas, Ismail Ahmed, disclosed this after meeting with the president at the State House, Abuja. President Bola Tinubu has once again reiterated his democratic credentials and stance, declaring that he is a die-hard Democrat. The president was speaking at the interfaith breaking of the fast in the presidential villa in Abuja, where he hosted the leaders of the All Progressives Congress APC, members of the National Working Committee of the party, and the Inter-Party Advisory Council. President Bola Tinubu held a high-level meeting with service chiefs and senior defense officials to address Nigeria's security challenges. The closed-door session, which held at the presidential villa, lasted for over 2 hours. Following the meeting, Minister of Defense General Christopher Musa explained that the briefing was aimed at providing the president with a comprehensive update on the current situation across the country. The President of the Senate, Godswill, has announced a fresh round of defections as 9 senators move to the African Democratic Congress ADC. However, he flagged the defection of Senator Naya Abaribe from Abia South as procedurally faulty. Lawmakers raised concerns regarding the defection of Senator Abaribe from ABGA, arguing, while referencing relevant sections of the Constitution, that the party currently has no subsistent internal crisis. They maintained that in the absence of a clear division within the party, the senator may not have met the constitutional conditions required for defection. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Professor Taiwo Oyedele as Minister-designate under the administration of President Bola Tinubu. The Senate President, Senator Godswill, announced the confirmation after lawmakers cleared the nominee through a voice vote during the Committee of the Whole. Professor Oyedele is expected to replace Mrs. Doris Uzoka Anite as Minister of State for Finance.
Welcome back. Residents of Penzeng community in Biazi area of Kubwa, Buhari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, are calling on the federal government to take immediate and decisive action on the worsening security situation in the area. Some residents told Channels Television that heavily armed gunmen invaded the community recently, moving from house to house, forcing their way into homes. One resident said the wife of a local vigilante commander, her younger sister, and 4 children belonging to a pastor were abducted by these gunmen during the attack on that community. All 19 kidnapped victims were successfully rescued and evacuated to safety following this joint operation by security agents. But here's more in our focus on the FCT. The 3rd of March 2026 was an unpleasant day for residents of Peze community in Biazi area of Kubwa, Buhari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. The community was thrown into panic and a sense of loss when gunmen stormed a pastor's house, kidnapping children belonging to the pastor, the wife of a local vigilante commander, and her younger sister, among other residents in the area. The area is known as a rapidly developing, densely populated, underdeveloped part of Kubwa. sighted near the hilly, rugged terrain bordering Biazin across, which has been cited as a potential safe haven for criminal elements. On arrival, residents are still on high alert as we stopped halfway to the pastor's residence to show where there was a crossfire with the vigilante group, which left noticeable bullet holes. One resident gives an account of the incident as an official of the community makes a passionate appeal to the federal government over the security situation.
They carry so many people here. That very house now, that very house there, they came to that house, like my cousins, they are there because it's my auntie and she's the one that gave birth to those children. So they took 4 children.
They came and kidnapped just little children of between 4 to 8 years. They came, they took all of them away. Then the other woman who is having a child of just about 3 weeks, they also took her and left the young baby at home. So we are begging the government to come to our rescue in order to arrest this scourge of kidnapping. And looking at the look of things, you see that the police division in Biazin here is too far away from us.
Our next stop is the residence of the pastor whose 4 children were kidnapped. The pastor shares his account of the incident and efforts of security operatives in the area.
After the meeting with my prayer warrior leader in my wife's shop there, so I told my wife to give me something to eat. We were eating the food together. So while we were there, I saw when Nigeria police heal us past with siren. One of my neighbor here, the beer parlor close to my place here, I saw him running, coming. He said, "Pastor, I forgot what I saw your number with. That these people are in my house." He was hearing the way they were hitting my house. To the extent my children were crying. He was just hearing the voice of the children crying. Task force, including army, police, civil defense, and all the rest. They were passing, going up and tracing them.
He then makes an appeal to the federal government for the rescue of his children, just as his wife highlights the worsening security situation.
I am calling on President Tinubu, and I am calling on the Senate President, the person of Akpabio, God's will. I am calling on the Speaker of the House of Rep, and I am calling every other agencies in concern to security matter in Nigeria to please come up and help my family to recover my 4 kids. Not just my 4 kids. The commandant, the head of the vigilante, while he was intercepting with them with gun, they passed by and kidnapped his wife and his sister-in-law.
We are afraid every minute and hour. If they didn't come today, even since on Tuesday they came to my place, they have been coming since that Tuesday down to yesterday. They have still been coming to carry more people.
The wife of a local vigilante commander and her younger sister are not left out during the raid, as the commander of the vigilante group narrates the incident.
Someone met us there and said the kidnappers have come around. So we quickly run because they tell us the direction that they came to meet the pastor. So since the pastor is not around, we should quickly come. So on our way, we don't know that they have heard here in this forest. So from there they saw us with guard and confront us.
A few days later, troops of 7 Guards Battalion, Guards Brigade, Nigerian Army, in a joint operation of the Nigerian Police Force and local vigilantes, successfully rescued the 19 kidnapped victims during this coordinated search and rescue operation conducted around Gidandogo in Buari Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory. A statement signed by the Acting Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, Headquarters Guards Brigade, Nigerian Army, Lieutenant Olawiye Itunolua, says the operation was launched following credible intelligence on the whereabouts of terrorists responsible for the recent abduction of residents from the Biazin area of Buari. The statement adds that during the operation, troops made contact with the bandits, leading to a firefight in which one of the criminals was neutralized, while others fled the scene with gunshot wounds. According to the statement, further exploitation of the area led to the recovery of one AK-47 rifle and one locally fabricated firearm. Additionally, all 19 kidnapped victims were successfully rescued and evacuated to safety. Troops have since returned to their forward operating base in Buari, while the rescued victims are currently receiving attention. The rescued victims recount their ordeal and are grateful for their return to their families.
At my residence in Kubwa on Thursday night by 10:56 p.m. I was kidnapped with my 3 other children. The experience was terrible because I've never experienced such. The next thing they said I should lie down, and that's why they picked my daughters and they later picked me, and we started entering the bush. They took us through the bush path. All through that night, we were walking till when we get to their camp on a hill path. Then the next day again, all through the day, they kept us in a place, blindfolded us. Then yesterday night, we walked all through yesterday night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. this morning.
It was a horrible experience. It was so bad. A lot of things happened along the line. We were so much beaten, put to hunger. You know, it was so excruciating. It was a bad experience, actually. It was when we trekked all the way from Abuja to Kaduna, and then they were still telling us we will still be taking us to Katsina. That was when all hope was lost.
The kidnappers were communicating with you, telling you where you are going.
Yes, actually, we asked them things, they tell us. So they told us that by this time we would have started making our journey to Katsina State. So we are going to collect each person, each of the victims, 5 million naira each. That is non-negotiable.
It was a terrible experience that I don't even wish it for my enemy. Very terrible experience. The first location they took us to was under a mountain. The mountain was very big, like it has under. So we stayed there. It's like you can't sit like this. You can't sit upright. You have to bend like this because of the mountain. If you sit upright, the mountain will affect your head. So you have to bend. You have to bend like this. That was how they kept us there.
On walking all through the night.
Yes, we kept on walking all through the night. When it's daytime, they find somewhere for us to stay. I was kidnapped at Garaka under Niger State. We were rescued today by the Nigerian Army, GSS, and police. You know, when we heard the gunshots, we were very scared. But immediately they appeared, the Nigerian Army, police, GSS, immediately they appeared, we were very happy. We were very, very happy. It was like a prayer answered. Like, we were very happy. We all give thanks to God that we are for their efforts. Truly, they are really, really working.
I am very grateful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nigerian.
How do I thank you? How do I thank you? What can I do? Thank you. God bless you. You will not see shame. You people will not see shame. Nobody will cut your life short. For this you have done. Before you cry to God, God will answer you.
Over the years, Abuja being the seat of power made kidnappings difficult, and residents took pride in this fact. However, with neighboring states seeing an increase in banditry and kidnappings, fears have been expressed about the safety of Abuja's suburbs. And those fears are being justified in recent times with kidnappings recorded in places like Kubwa, Buari, Gwagwalada, Dawaki, and others. Security agencies in the nation's capital say they are ramping up collaborations to ensure safety returns to the nation's capital. To break down the security threats facing the FCT, especially its suburbs, we're joined by Kevin Fineface, a security expert. Mr. Fineface, welcome again to Dateline Abuja.
My pleasure. Nice meeting you. I think we haven't seen this. Okay, we've seen this year, right?
No, I thought. Last time we had you here was last year.
Oh, that was last year.
Yeah, that was last year.
How time flies.
How time flies. Speaking of time flying, at least we're old residents of the FCT. We've been here for quite a while. So watching the security deteriorate as it has, but it's almost like it undulates, isn't it? There are high points,
some high points, low
and then
points.
really low points. But with what happened in Kubwa, it feels that we're entering into that low point era again, where residents in places that are just opening up. I remember how they marketed it to everyone. Oh, these are places that are opening up. You should feel free to build a house in these places. Oh, you complain, so, but there are mountains around. No. We're beefing up security in the FCT. Let's talk about Abuja's suburbs and these kidnappings that keep recurring in these places as our security situation in Abuja goes up and down over the years.
Well, Abuja has a unique, terrain. The influx of people that comes into the city, it's unbelievable. And I'm sure the infrastructure is not built up to meet up to the influx of people that are coming into the city. Now, here's the thing. Life is designed for survival. Now, with the way insecurity has become a going concern, if I must use that, people tend to look at kidnapping and other type of crime as a means of survival. And so you ask the question, why is it that easy? Why are they looking out for soft targets? Before, used to be in the city. I mean, last year in Apo, someone was kidnapped, in one of these estates within the city center, somebody was also kidnapped, went to the estate, picked the person out of the estate and zoomed off. And now it's happening in the hinterland. I mean, we are the most vulnerable people live. I mean, in most cases, they don't even have any type of security.
At the suburbs.
At the suburbs, So you now find this is common. Sometimes also, we can't also rule out the fact that, yes, this case that happened in Kubwa was known by people who came in to carry out this. So some other times, people kidnap themselves, just to take ransom for their family members. Because now it's going concern. So, but what are we doing as a citizen of this country? What am I doing to contribute towards seeing that, this, I suggested about security education. I've been a member of the Abuja Crime Control Squad in the past. I mean, from the inception, I was a member of that team. And there are fantastic, plans, operational plans that were designed, but poorly implemented. For one, paucity of funds, not available, lack of appreciation of the system to appreciate those who are responsible for carrying out these operations. Then interference. When you take out certain kind of actions, you find that some persons arrested have some vested interest in those persons in government. They are released, just recently, my neighborhood somewhere in Dako, local government boundary, we apprehended 2 young guys who came in, to bomb. It's been going on. They've been coming steel generator, break into. My electric fence was actually caught. Then 3 days after, these guys were caught. And you look at them, little kids, and not more than 22, 23, 24, then you now ask yourself, what's going on? Now, taking them to the police is another thing. You take them to the police, the next day they are released. So you begin to wonder, what's going on? Is it a network of relationship, causing all of these things? So is it deteriorating? Yeah, to the extent to which it is now, it is deteriorating. Before you could walk around, until 2017, I had an experience, a terrible experience. My car broke down along Mabushi flyover.
Oh, no.
And this was around after 8 p.m. I was stopped 4 places. 4 places, left to die.
Sorry about
and the police couldn't help. When they were called, they said I called the wrong emergency number. Okay, this is my situation. This was my situation. Why don't you send help? They didn't show anything. My cousin finally came, went to call Metama police, said, that's not a jurisdiction, they can't come there. So we need to do more. There has to be proper rapid response squad. At strategic positions, you have more checkpoints than you have rapid response, teams around. Those checkpoints cannot respond to any type of crime. If you go meet them now, there's a situation, they won't go. Because they are there to collect their money and leave. That's what they do. They hardly do proper security checks. We're supposed to have, those checkpoints as a case of trying to want to contain a particular type of threats, but they do this almost every day. The only time I didn't see that was when the new IG was, announced. That day it was announced and decorated. They were off the streets. But yesterday I saw them again back on the streets. So.
Is there hope that things will get, because this new Inspector General of Police, now that you mentioned Mr. Disu, he was CP in Abuja here. So is there that added advantage of security?
Kidnapping is only one type of the crime going on within that zone. From Dawaki down to Kubwa and to Suleja, or let's use Dede houses, for instance. You realize the amount of crime that goes on this place unreported. From one chance to pickpockets to strangulation.
Why? Why is crime,
along that road?
Why is crime rife in that zone, that particular area?
Yeah, you have a place that is overly populated, poor infrastructure, lack of jobs, so people resort to different things to survive. And don't forget, the morals is no longer there. So in those days we have families that were serving as a buffer zone to inculcate cultures and values in the hearts of people.
Where this thing happened in Kubwa is mountainous. That whole neighborhood is mountains. And it's not the first time. It's not the second time. It's not the third time. Over the years, we've seen people climb over those mountains, and the terrain is terrible. When you speak to the police, they tell you it's difficult for us to chase them. The terrain, it's rocky.
Not necessarily
cars don't
because
go
they are
there.
poorly trained, poorly funded, and never really have the skill set with which is required to do those things. If you have a police post or a police station around the mountainous area, what trainings are you doing to at least navigate through those areas? There are trainings that can be done to help those who have deployed those areas.
And the equipment necessary for that sort
the type
of work.
Vehicles and all of this to do that. Then you also have intelligence. You need to be able to have your people. Why don't those sting operations to carry out some of these crimes going on? There was a time many years ago when these one chances were coming up. We did some sting operations. We are police officers disguised as,
cars, yes.
And then nabbed a few of them, right? So we can still do the same thing. The right empowerment can make a difference. So the mountainous terrain is not the
I think that undercover operation was actually carried out by the command center, the FCT.
The FCT, yeah, they did that.
Center.
Even other agencies also did similar thing. And
so they should, you're thinking they should carry the same modus operandi?
It should be continuous
to
operation.
Our borders. And
to the border area. For the borders, here's the thing. Until we start implementing community policing, we can't get the right result. Nigeria is, it's high time we start having community policing and state policing. We cannot continue to be going with the federal style of policing that we're doing, which is not really helping. Because how do you deploy somebody from Kano to River State, who they actually don't know the terrain that much, and you expect to do magic? You need to be able to have people from locality. Now, today, vigilante is recognized.
Oh, yes.
We have the farmers or whatever it is, hunters, that are also being recognized as part of the vigilante. The president just gave approval for additional manpower to be recruited into that forest guards issue. That's like trying to, should I say, pouring water on the dog's body? The first thing we need to do is to say, we kind of decentralize policing. We go to state policing, community policing, and before you know what's happening, we're able to get the right people into the right places. Then the next thing you want to do is to see that there's the enabling environment for people, business to thrive, so that people are gainfully employed and engaged.
Before we wrap up, the Guards Brigade, they released a statement after when the kidnapped victims were brought back. And I'm going to use the word brought back because the question has come up, were they ransomed, were they returned, or were they rescued? The word that the Guards Brigade used is rescued. That was what they used in their statement. But they say it was a joint operation. The Guards Brigade, the police, even the vigilante in the area and whatnot, coming together to make sure that this... What can be done going forward? What should the FCT minister and the CP and, of course, the new Inspector General of Police, what should they be thinking about when it comes to FCT security right now?
We need to look at the fact that as a country, the different security agencies have this rife that goes on in the midst. They have this petty approach to things. The soldiers, the military guys believe they are superior to the police. The police believe they're superior to DSS. There's that inter-agency conflict thing that comes in. So when intelligence is shared, it's never taken seriously, as expected. Then we need to be able to have a proper joint task force where we know that all security agencies will be part of that, more like a potpourri team, and deploy. But see, I don't always subscribe to just enforcement. We want to create the enabling environment, give people the opportunity to take ownership of their spaces. So that when you're coming to enforce, then you cannot have the right intelligence to enforce. You have the right support from the community members telling you where and what to look out for to get this done. But you see, you go with this approach as we're in a type of war, then you won't get the right result that you're expected to have. Then government needs to be able to raise the right funds. Most of these police stations are not properly equipped, poorly equipped. So they have to look for money on the road. And those who pay for those things are the people. And do you know there are many who have been dismissed from the military as a result of this insurgency that's going on that also can contribute towards this insecurity we're having because they are grieved? I listened to one young guy who was dismissed, without any reason. So far, that from what you explained, some of those persons have learned how to shoot very well. They've had good training. Guess what they will do? They'll get the bad guys. That was what happened with the militancy back then in the Niger Delta. A lot of the military who were discharged from the military after Abacha's death moved to the interlands and started helping those people there to train them, and they started committing so many havoc. We need to be able to have the proper transition for disarmament so that people are not just disengaged and become menace in the society. You know,
well, Mr. Fineface, that is all the time that we have. But I want to thank you very much for your insights today on the program, and good luck with all the work you have ahead of you.
Thank you.
Safety first, everyone. And we're all in this together. So if you see something, say something. And make sure the police emergency numbers are on your phone. Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.